my friends, Dwayne Klassen here, the coach for Remarkable Men, coming at you with another edition of your Mojo Minute. And today, guys, we are talking about pebbles, rocks, and boulders. Let's go. Hey, my friends, yes, we are talking about an aspect of communication that a lot of people are challenged with. Today we are going to be talking about pebbles, rocks, and boulders. What am I talking about here? What the hell's going on? Well, I learned this principle about communication 20 years ago by a gentleman by the name of Gary Smalley. And he used to run these couples retreats. And he talked about what it means to throw a pebble and throw a rock, and of course throw in a boulder. So let's get into it. When we're interacting with our beloved, or we're interacting with a friend, family member, or anyone in our sphere, we typically have an assumption on how they like to communicate, and we communicate in kind the way we like to communicate. And often this can get messed up. And you know this if you've ever had conflict in your relationship. Now, in a romantic relationship, this is typically where you're going to be tested the most. And I know you're doing a ton of self-development and personal growth, and you've done a lot of reading, perhaps you've done the seminars, you've done the workshops, and here you are. Well, relationships is where you're going to test everything that you think you know. So, if you're a single guy, a single woman watching this, this is for you as well. But when we're in the single mode, it's a great time to reflect. It's a great time to do what we need to do to step up our game. But we don't necessarily get tested to the extreme that someone in a relationship would. We usually can just unpack and go, you know what, I'm good. I'm just going to stay home tonight. I'm just going to chill. I can relax. I don't have to really do anything. So you're not really challenged in regards to who you are and how you function, how you communicate. So let's just assume that you're either in a relationship or there's people in your world that you interact with on a regular basis. Now, imagine, if you will, you're having a conversation and the conversation is free-flowing and it's great. And this is with your beloved. You know, whether it's your mate, your girlfriend, your wife, boyfriend, whatever it is. Things are going well, and then you say something that's a little off the cuff. Just, you know, it's to you, it's just a little harmless little pebble. Yeah, you just kind of tossed a little pebble. And all of a sudden, your significant other, the person you're talking to, just kind of freaks out, blows up. Something just went off the rails, and you don't know why the hell they're behaving that way. And all of a sudden you are persona non grata, and yeah, you're in the doghouse and you're sitting there scratching your head going, what the hell just happened here? Well, you may have thought you just tossed a little pebble, but you actually threw a rock and it just hit. And for whatever reason, they took it as a rock. And that's typically from their own programming. And in some cases, it could even be worse than that, and they'll take it on as a boulder. And when that happens, there's typically a lot going on underneath that we don't see. There's a lot of deep programming, and a lot of these rocks and boulders are scars. They're wounds from our past. Now, as we move forward, it's really hard to decipher, well, what's a pebble? What's a rock? And really, what is a boulder? This comes down to you expressing your values and your boundaries, really getting clear on what it is. And you might have a sense of humor that's all about pebbles, but whoever you're talking to, for whatever reason, there might be a heightened level of sensitivity, and they take it on as a rock, and it doesn't land the way you want it to. So how do you mitigate the damage? Well, it's communicating your values and boundaries. sitting down with each other and going, what would be something that would hurt you? Like if there's something that I say that could really get under your skin and bother you, what does that look like? What is a rock to you, and what is a pebble? You know, and find some common ground. Now, sometimes it might sound like a kind of a very sterile conversation, but it doesn't have to be. You can have fun with it. What are your rocks and pebbles, babe? You know, I don't want to toss any of these at you. And, you know, let's have some fun with these. What are the little things that, you know, we can have fun with? And it might be sarcasm. It might be just having that heightened sense of wit that only the two of you know. But I want you to either individually or together really discover or figure out what these are, so that your beloved never has to go down this road because you're working on it. These boulders are here because you haven't dealt with it yet. And most of these are subconscious programs from your childhood. And we all have it. Some have it more than others. It's just varying degrees of how they've dealt with it. So if you are someone that gets triggered really easily, you've still got some boulders and rocks that are still running the show. And your beloved should not be the one that triggers that level of reaction in you. You guys really need to get to a place where it's just about pebbles back and forth. That's the maximum you two should be experiencing. And if you're not, then you've got to sit down and discover what your values and boundaries are. If you're holding on to resentment somewhere, and I talk a lot about this in the work that I do with men and my coaching on stage, this is one of my fundamental messages. Resentment is like a compass. It points exactly to where your values and boundaries were not expressed. And if someone is usurping their values and boundaries on top of yours, it's because theirs are stronger. And they're able to articulate and express them more convincingly. It's in their DNA. Excuse me. So if someone is triggering resentment, that's on you, because that's how you're handling it. Yep, they brought it up, but you're responsible for how you react or respond to the situation. So if you've got rocks and boulders still in your world, and your beloved or your friend, your business partner, a colleague can trigger it in you, that's got to be dealt with. And only you can take the time to do it. So you have a responsibility, not only to yourself, but to your family or the people that you care about, to work on this shit and get it done. Because you don't want to be walking around with a bunch of rocks or boulders. No. This is time to unpack that stuff and really have a place, a sanctuary for the two of you to have a powerful conversation. So get really clear with that. Where are your rocks and your boulders? And how can you turn those into just little pebbles? So when the two of you are in a heated or an exchange that's not necessarily comfortable for each other, you know that you're not chucking boulders. You know you're not chucking rocks, because you don't want to be a catalyst for your beloved's pain. You want to be an island, a place where the two of you can come together and have that remarkable relationship. To the guys, you are her champion. So it's incumbent upon you to really get clear on this. If you're packing this shit around, you've got to unpack this. And you've got to help her unpack hers, so that this is all that remains. Does that make sense? I hope this lands for you. And I hope maybe you're recognizing some boulders and some rocks that might be in your world that are impacting the way you communicate. Because really, maybe people are just doing this and you're taking it to a whole nother level and escalating it to where it doesn't need to go. So dig into that. Figure that out. Get to the pebbles. All right, if this was of value to you, I would really appreciate it if you would send a comment, please like, and of course, hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. And remember, you're not alone on the journey. I've got your back. Have the best day. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.